As a self-taught perfumer, this creator exploded on the scene with his no-nonsense approach to dispelling fragrance myths and demystifying the fragrance industry by pulling back the curtain of some of its most closely guarded secrets. No stranger to ruffling feathers, he regularly challenges gender norms by forcing young men to rethink their relationship with fragrance and dip their toes in what the general public will consider feminine. Occupying a unique portion of Frag Talk, he not only reviews fragrances, but is one of the few independent perfumers to start his own fragrance line and get picked up by stores to sell. In addition to running his own brand, he is also the creative director of a brand new fragrance house by the name of House of Cosmo. Please join me in welcoming the talented, tactful, and classy Teddy.
Well, thank you. It's quite an intro.
I always start off with a crazy question just to set the mood. So, do you actually listen to 3 6 Mafia?
Yeah, I have a very long, I have an eclectic taste in music. I don't know a lot about 3 6 Mafia, but there's definitely a few songs in my like 400 song rap playlist that I just add to and I shuffle through on a pretty regular basis. So, yeah.
Do you know I asked that question?
Is it sometimes my song choices in my videos? Yeah.
How important is music to you?
I mean, interestingly, I was a musician for a long time. I mean, as much as you can be without being a pro, for example. But I played trumpet like in elementary school, middle school. I played trumpet for years. French horn for years. I mean, I played it in like all through high school in it's going to sound very dorky, a competitive like orchestra and brass ensemble where we like toured and did quite well, and just went to college and I really kind of switched to guitar as the thing that I primarily focused on. Because after college, if you go to university for like a orchestral instrument, it's kind of a big part of your life at that point. And I just realized it was more for fun. But music is important. I've played music for a long time, and I just find that it's a great way to kind of set the mood. Like when I'm composing or working on scents, I'll often have a particular playlist or a album that kind of is one that I will use regularly for like a particular project I'm working on. It helps me get in the mode.
What's an artist that you listen to that would shock people?
Well, like one example, actually, when I was, for some reason, when I was working on Passing a Stranger quite a while ago at this point, the album I had on repeat for it was Beer Bongs and Bentleys. Wait, can I say that on live? So, like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of D'Angelo, big fan of like Lil Wayne, the Carter 3, I think it was. And then some of the more usual suspects like Outkast and Mobb Deep. But then on the other side, like I was a big Nirvana fan growing up, Blink-182 for a hot minute. I'm kind of all over the place.
So if I asked you to match a fragrance to a song, could you do it?
I could try. For some reason, I've always found it easier to like match outfit, like clothing and personal style with scents versus music. Like I don't experience the synesthesia with music in the way I do with scent, and I think that might be part of it. But I could try.
So why did you decide to join TikTok?
Well, if I rewind to when I got to the point in my perfumery journey where I'd made some things that I liked and that I thought were finished fragrances and pretty good. I'd always, for a long time, had it in the back of my mind that I'd like to launch my own brand. And in a really interesting, like sort of path of life, my background is in like Silicon Valley startups, and I got an MBA and all that. And one thing you realize, like, just because you build it doesn't mean that people are going to come. And so I thought, how am I going to stand out in a really crowded market? Like perfume 2 years ago was already starting to accelerate as an industry, in the beauty industry. And I was like, I could just make some fragrances and have fun, but I tend to kind of go all in and obsess about stuff. And I thought, why will people care if I'm making a scent, right? So I thought, well, what can I do that will stand out? And I kind of realized that there aren't that many people on social media who are really giving more like technical perfumery perspective on fragrances, and also just kind of talking a little bit of SHIT, like kind of maybe making some enemies along the way, because I figured if I was going to launch my own brand, I'd be more concerned with like building my own reputation and my own credibility versus like trying to get brand deals. And so I thought, okay, maybe I should start posting content on social media. And my wife thinks it's nuts because like before posting on TikTok and Instagram, I never really used social media. I mean, I used it. It wasn't like I was unaware of it. I've never been like a sharer on social media. And so now that I do make social content, it's like a very strange reality for us because it wasn't something that came to me naturally. And I thought I would give it a shot to see if it would, if people would resonate with it. And it seems like it's going pretty well.
I know you don't use social media very often because of how often you check your DMs.
Well, that's actually a problem I'm having. Like some people, like the number of DMs I get is insane, and the way that they get filtered, it's like really overwhelming between Instagram and TikTok. And so I kind of go through them in batches, but I got to get a better system because it's like nuts.
Now, you grew very quickly. What do you think contributed to that?
Well, I'm definitely not a person who can just like start making content on social media and like be cool and effortless with, like, my early videos were pretty rough. I had a really hard time talking to the camera. It was really stiff. It just felt really unnatural to me. Like I would see myself, I would be filmed maybe doing something else and I'd look normal, and then I'd try to talk to the camera and I was like a skinwalker. But just with some practice, I figured, like, what are things that people aren't talking about? And really what I went back to was, what were the things in my perfumery learning journey that were big aha moments for me, where I thought, whoa, well, that's kind of freaky, or holy crap, like I didn't realize that was a thing, or maybe, wow, I feel like I've been lied to about that. And so I started making more content around that kind of stuff, where what were those aha moments I had? And those videos seemed to resonate with people. So I just did them more. And that, because I wasn't like doing really aesthetic stuff, and some of it was kind of nerdy, but I was trying to just really bring people along for those realizations that I had as I got deeper and deeper into the game.
Yeah. And why do you think your content resonates with people?
Well, I think right around when I started posting, there was kind of fragrance TikTok was starting to have a bit of another wave, perfume TikTok and all that. And I'd seen some folks talking about how like some of the content felt a little bit recycled, especially because there's a lot of brands that do a lot of gifting. So if there's any gifting cycles, like some of the content that comes out can be a little bit repetitive, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the name of the game. And my guess is that my take on stuff was just a little bit different and a little bit controversial sometimes, that made it interesting. And I luckily the videos got a little better too, so they got easier to watch, and that probably helped as well.
And how would you explain the kind of content you do to someone?
I talk about perfumes. Right. I think I'm part reviewer, I'm part like perfumer, and I'm part like social commentary, where I think anything that is related to how you express yourself as a person, especially when it's tied to money and the perception of taste, and gender too, for that matter, is highly political and highly social. And so I kind of try to combine, some balance of the three of them. And they're really, I'm just trying to talk about things that I find interesting. Like I'm not, I'm not good enough at social media. Like if there's a topic in social media where I'm like, wow, that's really trending, and like I'm just not that excited about it, I really can't. I just I have a really hard time making content that I know will perform well that I'm just like not passionate about. So I like fragrances, right? So I like to review them. I like perfumery, so I talk about it, and I like social commentary. Like the social commentary and the business side are kind of related, so I kind of lump them together, and I talk about that too. And that's what I do.
Interesting that you said the political part, because some of your content focuses on pulling the toxicity out of frag bro talk. Why do you feel this is an important topic?
Well, I mean, right now we have a pretty ugly political climate in the United States. Mind you, I'm from Norway originally, so like being liberal in America is like basically being conservative in Scandinavia. Like, and the way liberalism and conservatism is expressed is kind of different in Europe and in Scandinavia. And just what I've noticed is we're having this sort of whiplash back into this idea that the social constructs in America that we have bought into are not performing the way that they've been promised, right? Like home ownership isn't affordable, wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, among other things. And when you have those types of political pressures, like really simple messaging, really simple ideas tend to connect really well with people. And so like that's where fascism comes into play, right? Like these very simple tropes that push people into like, oh yeah, like obviously the answer to this is like, making men men and women women, and we're going to go back to a better time, right? But if you rewind like 70 years, like I mean, there's some, America has had some pretty rough stuff in the 50s. Like, I don't know, like going back to that ain't exactly utopia. And, part of the way I try to bring that into the fragrance space is like pointing out to the fact that even just gendering sense really links back to just marketing, right? To sell more. And now it's plugging into this like broader manosphere, almost red pill content of like, selling this idea that that you should have gender roles within fragrance, and that they're going to somehow make you like more successful in life and things like that. It's really toxic. It's not true, and it's really concerning. So I like to talk about it.
Yeah. So I've made a couple like political videos sometimes, and I'm always told like, fragrance isn't the place for politics. But I feel like a person like you have a better insight as to how politics can affect the fragrance industry. So if you want to give a bit of a little like explanation, just a little.
Yeah, I mean, politics are really just an expression of social control, right? You're trying to create dynamics of power, to establish rules, to create a society that people generally want to achieve in some way, right? And people disagree about what that is exactly and how to do it, sometimes very severely and pretty shockingly. But I think people saying that perfume and fragrance isn't political, because it's not true. And really, it's an expression of you. People are frustrated because they're looking for an escape from all of the challenging stuff happening right now in the world, right? And so it feels like, oh, now here's these people trying to like force politics into my hobby that's an escape. But like eating, like from an environmental perspective, like multiple types of ingredients or plants are endangered now in the world because of over harvesting and due to poor government regulation by like in India, for example, Mysore sandalwood was massively impacted by overharvesting and poor regulation and exploitation because of the perfume industry, right? like, I mean, is the perfume industry's fault, or is it the government's fault for not upholding their responsibility to like protect their own natural resources, things like that? That's a question of politics right there. Even just the idea of like like what makes people trying to argue over what makes a scent female or male. Like that's a social conversation, but I think you're going to find anybody is going to have a hard time arguing that social issues and politics are not directly related, and that politics are often used to control the other and vice versa, right? So perfume is big business. Perfume is tied to identity, especially gender. And I know it's frustrating when politics gets brought into a hobby that's your escape, but like it really, a lot of perfume, whether you realize it or not, a lot about it has massive impacts on your life socially and environmentally, as well as like from like a business and political perspective as well.
Just there was just a little macro for the people in here, just
Yeah.
a quick little, because
I
I
mean,
feel
like,
like,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, what was one of the videos that I did? I can't even remember, but, Fragrantica. I was saying like, I'm not using them anymore because it's kind of like blatantly obvious what they're doing.
Yeah,
So
I've noticed.
I got a lot of pushback for that one, and I was just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I see scent profile. Yeah, like tariffs impacting the fragrance industry, like, just the enjoyment of your hobby is currently being impacted by politics. And the whole perfume industry is pouring lots of money into lobbying, both in the United States against tariffs and in the EU with some of these really insane regulations that are trying to be proposed, which I'm kind of brushing up on myself. But like the intersection of perfume and politics, especially because perfume is big business, is impossible to avoid, right? I know we want to. It sucks that we have to talk about it, but it's true.
We'll go for something a little lighter now. What got you into fragrance?
My my dad, all through my childhood and basically most of his life up until probably like 10 years ago, he wore Kuros by YSL. I think he used to wear the spray, but then he switched to like the deodorant stick, which is like a little, which is plenty strong on its own and a little bit more fresh and soapy than the original stuff. But that was just like a really core smell from my childhood. It smells really good on him, and I think that was like my kind of gateway into smells. Like I remember seeing my dad's like Kuros like bottle and like the deodorant stick too. But then also like I've just always had a really good sense of smell. And it's something you like my parents didn't particularly notice it because my mom also has a really good sense of smell. I got it from her. And we don't talk about smell a lot in like day-to-day life. It's not like, like if your eyesight isn't particularly good or it's like shockingly good, it will get noticed more. Like if you can't hear very well, it gets noticed more. But like being able to smell really well or not is not like tested and talked about. But like as I got older, I realized it's not normal to like know who other people have been hanging out with before they meet you because you can smell the other people they were with on them. Like there was a scene, there was that Hannibal TV show, and there's a part, I'm probably not giving anything away, but there's a character that Hannibal thinks is dead, but it's like a secret she's not. And then it cuts to like a guy, he's meeting with this person that's supposed to be dead, and then not long later meets up with Hannibal, right? And then there's this like kind of 3D like dream like visualization where Hannibal like smells the person who's supposed to be dead, like smells like her hair perfume like on the guy who was interacting with her, and he realizes she's still alive. Like yeah, like I've got like psycho level smell. Like I'll be like work, I'm like, oh, it's gonna rain in 12 hours. And people are like, how do you know? I'm like, because it smells like rain. Like if I smell mold like freakishly well. Anyway, so between my dad and my grandfather too, like my dad wearing scent and my grandfather as well, and then having like a really, really, good nose by most accounts, I just was naturally drawn to things that smelled good, and I just went from there.
What is your favorite fragrance notes?
Notes. I mean, I find myself drawn to a lot of fragrances that have some type of like a waxy iris in them, or like slightly powdery dry iris or orris. And I like rose a lot because it's so diverse in how you can approach it. I mean, really any scent is. And big fan of like tuberose, the kind of a big on like a good kind of in like funky bubblegum tuberose, and then kind of things that lean musky to the point of almost being animalic tend to smell really well on. They smell good on me. My skin does well with that kind of thing. Like Kouros smells really good on me. So yeah, but I'm kind of all over the place. It just kind of depends what mood I'm in.
Okay. And at what point did you think, I can do this? I can make fragrances.
The joke I overuse, it was like a slow descent into madness, because I started collecting in high school and then through college and got kind of more into the niche stuff later on, and I'm just a little obsessive, and so because I'm in like the business world, I was like researching the fragrance industry, and that kind of tells you about like, okay, the houses make them and how does perfumery work, and then I was learning about fragrance composition and buying textbooks and ingredients, and like before I know it, had like basically a lab set up in my house. And I think when I finished Banana au Chocolat is when I kind of realized, okay, like I can make fragrances, because that was my second one that I finished, and it was like I did one that I really liked. Well, I'd done a few that I really liked, but like I made one that I thought I could release, and then I made Banana Chocolat. I was like, okay, this is like, I feel like this is me. At that point, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I can do this. Like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going.
And when you did, well, I'm assuming that you already wanted to have a brand, but what led you to the point of like, I want to make a brand? Like, did you notice any gaps in the industry, or were you just like, I just want to make a brand?
Yeah, the answer was the answer was I wanted to put something out that was just for myself, in the sense of there's a way that you go about like structuring a business plan and like doing market analysis and like trying to get fundraising and stuff, very sort of MBA style. And I specifically didn't want to do that. I mean, naturally, like I don't have a super wild taste in fragrances. Like I'm not making insane ultra niche stuff. So like I wasn't super worried about whether the scents would be, enjoyable, right? But for me, I just wanted to do something that was an expression myself, because I feel like in my whole life, I've kind of worked and done things that I thought were good opportunities and that were kind of like for other people. But I wanted to try to preserve something that was just like uniquely me, where I wasn't like, if I was making a scent and then a brand to represent it, it would just be kind of how I wanted it to be. And my hope was that people would connect with it. And so, like, obviously there were constraints, like, I was trying to bootstrap the launch and not take on investors because I wanted to retain complete creative control. And the real push I got was actually a colleague of mine that I worked with for a long time. She had previously launched a cosmetics brand, and like a decade ago, and sold it. And she discovered my secret perfumery hobby, because like I didn't used to talk about it very much. Like being a straight white guy and like in Silicon Valley, like, oh, what do you do? Like, I make perfume for fun. Like you get weird looks, right? Going back to social issues and politics. And she's the one who really pushed me to like, hey, go for it, right? And we teamed up, and so she's a part owner in the business. Her name's Ellen, and her discovering my hobby and like kind of giving me that like push to do it, along with just like wanting to do something for myself, is how I approached it and want to have some fun with it.
And what does your brand do differently from other brands?
I think with Perfume, it's kind of interesting because it's not like a computer. Like companies that make computers, they'll try to like position certain aspects of performance, right? And you have like your budget category, like your sort of household normal stuff, your premium, and then your luxury. And for mine, like the thing that I do differently is that I'm making fragrances that I like artistically and from a creative perspective, and I hope other people like them too. And it's not so much that I'm creating for myself, but I think there's other brands that do that too, right? It's not like what I'm doing is unique in how I'm approaching it. It's less common in the perfume industry, mind you, but it's not like I'm the only one doing it. But I think what's cool about that approach is that it gives people an opportunity to connect with the creative vision behind like an art form. Like for example, like Paraphrase has a similar approach, right? Josh, the perfumer behind them, has a different style than I do, right? He and I are both doing something very similar, but the end result is also very different, right? And so I think what the main differentiator is that I'm independent. I have full creative control. I release exactly what I want to release, and nobody else has a say in that. And within that, I get to express my own unique version of perfumery, which hopefully people enjoy. Right? And what's nice about perfume is like, eventually I'll release like a vanilla, like an interpretation of a vanilla scent. It's not like people, if you're a collector, you're not going to buy like, oh, I'm buying my one vanilla. There's a lot of room in there for like people to buy a Teddy vanilla and then like have 10 others if they want to, because they love vanilla, and each one is a different expression of it. So you can have different perspectives on it.
We'll circle back. I have other questions about that. But when you're making a fragrance, how do you know it's ready? Like, what is this is ready?
There's usually two things that happen. I get a lot of synesthesia from fragrances, and so if I'm just creating for my own brand, it's a little different than if I'm helping another brand assess their sense, or like I'm directing the creative path behind it. So like if I'm helping another brand create a scent, like there is a brief in mind, and like when I feel it clicks, like, okay, I have an idea in my mind of who is this speaking to, what is this trying to evoke, and you just feel it, like, okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It kind of checks the boxes, right? And then beyond checking the boxes, there's this sort of subtle judgment call of like, does it have that it factor, right? And that's hard to describe. That's a different thing for each scent. Usually something that gives it a little bit of curiosity, like people want to come back and smell it again. It's a little different. It's got an interesting perspective. But then if I'm just making it for my own brand, I'm chasing very specific things like that I personally want. And then when I've achieved it, I actually get this like full body, like tingling sensation. It's kind of weird. Like I'll smell it and I'll be like, ooh, yeah, ooh, that's it. Like, ooh, that's the stuff, right? Because it's like my brain has, because I see scents as shapes in my head. Ooh, I don't know anything about the gifter things, but it looked cool. I scents have a shape and a texture in my head, and then when I smell it, it takes on a shape and texture. When they match, it has this like very, oh, thank you for the hand thing. And it creates like a very tingly feeling in my body. And then what I do is I try to like modify it beyond, like, can I make it better? And if I can't, if I start losing that sensation, then I know I'm finished. Right.
So it's basically like a, you just know.
Yeah, it's nice for my own, for like, if it's a scent that like is for my own, it's like for my own mind that I am working on, there's like a physical connection that happens when I've nailed it. It's actually kind of nice because I'm like, ooh, like, oh, that's it. Like it pushes the button. Like I've got like a yes button that happens. What's frustrating though is like I can get stuff where I know it smells good, but I haven't had that moment yet, and I'm like, and I'm chasing a thing, this like weird tingly sensation in my body. I can't predict when it happens, but when it happens, like I'm locked in. I know it's good.
Do you ever share it with like other people? Like, is your opinion the only opinion that matters, or do you reach that point and then you're like, let me get other opinions?
I ask my wife for her input a lot, just for fun, because my wife has a very different taste than I do, and she actually doesn't like scents very much. It's kind of funny. I've married somebody who like gets migraines easily from scents and like generally doesn't like them that much. But that because of that, she has a very different perspective on them. So I find it, her feedback is interesting. Like it just kind of like helps unlock new perspective for me sometimes. But at least for my own sense, something that Jean-Claude Elena said once really stuck with me. And he said that he'll sometimes ask for feedback, but he doesn't really ask for creation feedback. And he doesn't ask what people would choose, because he says that choosing is an act of creation. Like, if you make a bunch of versions and somebody else picks it, like, I mean, yeah, you made it, but like they've chosen it. They have actually unlocked what is bringing it into the world as something tangible. And so I like to get people's perspectives on things, because sometimes like they'll notice something or they'll call something out that like triggers an idea or like makes me take a different direction. But when I get close to the end, like I'm the one smelling them, and I'm like, this is the one, right? In fact, my business partner, Ellen, she didn't like banana chocolat and didn't think we should release it, and it's our bestseller. she's come around to it now, though.
It always works out like that.
Yeah, right. Well, because people, especially when you're doing more niche stuff, like people like not people polarization is good. A hate it or love it kind of thing is good. It gets talked about. It feels more unique and purposeful.
Now, what has your experience been being an independent perfumer?
It's a lot. I mean, mind you, I currently have like a day job. Like I work a normal, I guess, sort of normal job in Silicon Valley, and my hobby of perfumery just has become like all encompassing. Like I work, I have my family, I have like my perfumery. Like that's my life, like 24/7. And it's a lot to just juggle the creative process along with like sharing the creative process online and doing content creation. But it's a lot of fun. Like I think, obviously I've never been a traditional perfumer trained at one of the big houses, working for one of the big houses, for example. But I feel like I got lucky because I don't think I would have been very good as a traditional perfumer at a big house. Like, I'm just too all over the place in terms of like my creative process. And so I think I love being an independent perfumer, and I think I got lucky and landed in the exact place that I should be, because if I tried to do it the traditional way, it probably would have gone terribly.
So, to my understanding, it's very hard to be an independent perfumer and hoping to work for a like a brand. Can you elaborate on that?
I don't know exactly yet, because my focus has been on, like, my main focus up until now has been just like slowly growing my own fragrance brand, right? because for me, like I just really enjoy it. Like I enjoy the creative process. Like it's for me, there's perfumery, but the act of like creating a package for it and bringing it to the world and making it interesting enough that people are willing to trust you with hundreds of dollars to like experience it is kind of an incredible thing. And my focus hasn't been on trying to like land roles with other brands, right? And I've heard that it can be tricky because like there's a lot of because if you're an independent perfumer, there's a lot of time that goes into making sense for other brands, and so you need a team around you to like do account management and like lead intake. Like it's very time consuming to work with a client to help them understand the process, to translate that into a fragrance brief, to then like communicate with them on how to develop it, then work on the scents, mail them iterations or meet with them and get feedback and go through that. Like there's a really big divide. Like being an independent perfumer and like getting matched up to clients is possible, but it's very difficult to grow that business until you invest in a team around you, because it takes a lot of work just around the perfumery itself to make the fragrance creation process efficient. Like it's, so it's a classic case of like a team of one. Like it's very difficult to get enough business to hire a team to then make the independent fragrance house setup more sustainable.
Speaking of expensive, how expensive is it to be independent?
Well, I mean, I guess when you say expensive, like what kind of expense are you talking about?
Like buying materials, buying hardware, like all the things you need to
Mhm.
physically make a brand on your own. Like how expensive is that?
I mean that's a question I get a lot of people like, how much does it cost to like, independently start a brand? And the answer is so variable because it really depends on what skills you have and how much you're doing yourself and what scale you have too. So the short answer is when you're independent and small, everything is significantly more expensive because you're not buying in volume, right? Like like I always joke like for example, paraphrase. I have their bottle right here. This is it's a stock bottle, simple label. The cap is custom, but it's like I think it might be like a custom OEM, and they're paying for it actually. But it's a very simple setup. Like mine is also a very simple setup too. They're probably paying like 5 times more per bottle than like a luxury brand's custom bottle because of the volume differences, right? And so the more you buy, the cheaper everything gets. And so upfront, like you're already paying 3 to 5x, 2 to 5x, whatever, per everything that a big brand is doing. And then on top of it, like that's just like material costs, right? Now you got to talk about like, incorporation fees, insurance, then you've got design, website stuff. Like, so I was able to do it pretty kind of bootstrap it because like I know enough HTML and CSS that I was able to customize Shopify pretty effectively. I'm kind of a design nerd, so I did like all the graphic design and logo stuff for the brand. But like the more you outsource, the more it costs. And so there's not really an easy answer, but short answer is the per unit cost is pretty high if you're independent and getting started.
And just for the people, they want to know what OEM means.
Oh, shoot, I don't even remember what the acronym stands for. It's basically when you're talking to manufacturers, um, there's different acronyms that describe whether you are getting something that is the factory has already created and is ready to go, or if it's like created and ready to go and then customized from there, or if it is like fully customized to your specs. And like, what does OEM stand for again? Hold on, I'll look it
Original
up.
equipment manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah. So I used the wrong acronym there. There's OEM, ODM. There's all these different things. I'm not a manufacturing expert, but OEM would be like if if you had a Toyota and you bought like a Toyota part for it instead of like a third party part for it. There's other acronyms that I should have used for manufacturing where if you're buying essentially a stock component versus one that's like stock but customized, like the cap, they've got the mold for the cap already, and you're changing the material for it or changing the color versus like actually designing a whole new mold for a bottle and then having that done custom.
Yeah, someone saying that like it gets us better to think about it as like car parts.
Yeah, no, OEM was the wrong acronym in that context. That's that I'm mixing them up.
What's your most expensive material?
Oh gosh, per gram. I can't remember per gram. I mean, definitely. I've got some like Vietnamese agarwood that's really expensive. Orris butter is always expensive, and it's probably the agarwood I have. I don't really use it much because it's expensive. But yeah, I mean, and it's anything that's going to be a rare natural is going to be expensive just because it's rare and takes a long time to extract. Or to collect enough to extract, I should say.
So, in your opinion, what makes a good perfumer?
That's a tough one to answer because there's like a lot of different kinds of perfumers. They're like most people that go to perfumery school don't end up working on like perfume in the way that we're talking about it. Because like the whole world is scented. Like your laundry is scented. Hotels have scents. Even just like, the packaging material is scented. Trash bags sometimes have scents, right? So there's like different types of perfumers. There's like functional perfumery, which I think usually refers to like more cleaning products, like household stuff, non-wearables. There's like technical perfumers. I think when it comes to like fine fragrance is what is usually how it's referred to when you're talking about like wearable perfume. For me, what I think makes a good perfumer is obviously, creativity, but creativity is sort of subjective and they don't always have as much creative freedom as they'd like to with a brief, but you're looking for if the shape of the fragrance has body and texture that makes you feel something. Because like for example, and it's not really a knock on a perfumer because oftentimes a perfumer, like people wonder like, wait, why did this famous perfumer release this scent that's kind of weird? It's often because like they didn't have as much say in what the final product was, right? The brand was really pushing them for a certain type of deliverable. Mm-hmm. But a good perfumer is going to be able to take a brief or take a concept and create a fragrance that has shape, body, and texture with all the ingredients in it that feels balanced while giving your nose something interesting to work with, right? Like it can be really easy to make a very nice smell that is boring. It can be very easy to make a smell that performs but has lots of like elbows sticking out of it and like it just feels all over the place. But a good perfumers can deliver you a complete shape and it shows up to you as an experience versus a thing that just either doesn't move you or that has like these parts that are falling off of it in a weird way. I'm not describing it really well, but that's how it feels to me because my assessment of the structure of perfume is often like this synesthesia that goes on about how it's shaped. And it's weird because sometimes when I'm smelling a fragrance, I will know a material is in it, not because of what I smell, but because of how it feels, like the shape it takes in my head.
I know what you're talking about. I have the same thing with Delina. Like Delina smells round but hollow. Like
Yeah, that's
something.
Quentin Biche has a very has a very that's his style usually. He has a transparency to it, transparency, hollowness, depending on how you perceive it. So um, I absolutely see what you're saying.
What do you think about Quentin Biche?
I think he's doing great work. I think people, anybody that gets people talking about art is doing something right. Like whether or not you like it or not is, I'm not saying you personally, but like whether or not people like it is not super important in my opinion. But like just he has a distinct style. Like people tend to love it or not. He's kind of found his vein. You know, he loves Akigawa wood and like kind of all the structures around it. And I really respect him for it. Like he makes stuff that he makes a lot of fragrances that are unique and also very crowd pleasing. And that is a much harder thing to do than people realize.
Now, we're going to switch over to you. What's your style as a perfumer, and how would we know this is a Teddy fragrance?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't released enough. I think maybe to establish that yet. But when I feel like my style gravitates to that of like how Jean Claude Elena composes, where he is a more minimal perfumer and he likes having transparency in his compositions. And so a great example of this is like if you smell Ambre Narguile from Hermes, like it's actually a really great exercise for anybody listening if you really want to understand like how composition can vary. Um, whatchamacallit, what's that scent from Killian that everyone loves?
Angel share?
Angel Share, thank you. Smell Angel Share. And Angel Share is like arguably it's a clone of Ambre Narguile, basically. If you smell Angel Share and then you smell Ambre Narguile next to each other, Angel Share is basically a clone of it, but Ambre Narguile is a gourmand. They're very, very similar, but it has a transparency and airiness that Angel Share does not have. Angel Share is kind of thick and dense, syrupy, not in a bad way, but it's like it's very foody, right? And Ambre Narguile smells very similar, but it's transparent, it's ethereal, like it's very sweet, it's very gourmand, but it has a transparency to it. And that's like a composition style. And like I feel like that's how I tend to gravitate towards things. Like even my scent Banana Chocolat, I mean, it's got a lot of patchouli in it, but it's never incredibly dense. It's like opulent, it's earthy, but I try to keep things relatively airy. I describe my perfumery style as being more sheer. I like to be able to see through the composition, not be like weighed down by it.
And does not having access
Oh, by the
to
way,
tactiles?
Arabian's Tonka, absolutely not that. This is, I have to address this. I am so sorry. Arabian's Tonka, by the way, it's a rougère. It's basically, they took the Baccarat Rouge base and they slapped a bunch of gourmand on top of it. Ambre Narguile is goated. I'm personally offended. No, I'm kidding. You're good.
Never even tried that
No,
one,
I'm
to
just
be
having
honest.
fun.
Who even said that?
But actually, but Arabian's Tonka is kind of a fun topic. Arabian's Tonka is part of the new generation of scents that I call a rougère, because a fougère is like, you know, oak moss and coumarin and like lavender, bergamot, some other stuff, right? It's a barbershop. And Baccarat Rouge basically is oak moss based. It uses Veramoss in massive amount. And so I jokingly call it a rougère. It's like a extremely minimalistic modern fougère, kind of. And Baccarat Rouge, the core structure of it, actually, Baccarat Rouge itself is very minimalistic as a composition. And so you could literally just take a Baccarat Rouge and you could build a fragrance on top of it. There's a whole new class of fragrances that are Baccarat Rouge with something built on top of it. And one of the first really big hits that did exactly that was Oud for Greatness. It's literally Baccarat Rouge plus a bunch of stuff. Yeah, right there. And like, I'm not a big fan of it, but like, it's pretty clever. Like, it's popular for a reason. And it's literally Baccarat Rouge that's been modified. It doesn't smell like Baccarat Rouge anymore, but it's a whole new style of scent called a rougère. That's what I call it.
Speaking of Baccarat Rouge, well, maybe, but does not having captives hinder you at all? Do you feel like having access to them would change anything?
It's funny. I don't know because I've never got to try them. like, like, uh, like, it's not like I have a library of captives that I can use, and I'm like, darn, I can't really. I made this amazing composition with Mahoniol, and I can't release it. Like, I've never had that experience. And I don't know. Like, I feel like people seem to enjoy my scents, and there are some that I'd love. I'd love to get Paradisone. I'd love to use Akigala wood. I mean, there's a bunch of Ambroxan captives that I really like to get my hands on because I kind of know what they smell like. But I've never once sat at my computer or my station, I should say, and been like, man, if only I had this one captive. So I'd love to have them, but I don't miss them because, yeah.
Actually, that makes me think of something else. Is it possible for, like, say, I don't know, like you and a bunch of independent perfumers got together and formed your own, like, fragrance house? Is that possible? Or is it just like you're fighting against money, basically?
Oh no, it's totally possible. And I think this is where I feel like there needs to be a new, like an additional word to describe this, because there's fragrance houses and then there's fragrance houses. Like, a fragrance house, I guess the definitions vary, but they're ones that kind of create scents. But many of them are also chemical manufacturers that do R&D to create new, flavor and scent ingredients. So like, there's a lot of small fragrance houses that don't manufacture, don't do R&D, and they have a stable of perfumers and they make perfumes. Some of them even have contracts with some of the bigger houses, like they're kind of like a mini rep of them. But so it's totally possible for a collective of perfumers to get together to like offer their services together as a house. And that's like what a smaller house does. I think Pia Long has a mini house, for example. Cecile Zarokian is now a house. Like, she has her own whole independent thing going on. But where you can't compete at just doing that is like the research and development on like a billions of dollars of scale of creating whole new fragrance molecules and compounds, and like the manufacturing capacity behind them.
Now, since you started your own brand, what have you learned since launching it?
Oh man, a lot. I think if anything is you just need to learn to let go, where I think a lot of people want to, and like a lot of brands do this, they want to like try to like manufacture a hit. And that's what designer brands do. But like, when you're a small independent brand, you're never going to be able to invest in the level of marketing and just PR to seed public opinion to the point where it makes the fragrance a hit in spite of its qualities. And so it's like, you just have to, instead of obsessing about what scents you're going to release, you just need to like make things that you're happy with and find a way to get them out into the world to test, because it's harder to predict what is going to be like a success and like a moneymaker for you.
How is the brand going, just in general?
It's on it. Well, it's going well. I'm behind because my House of Cosmo project, like it kind of, I mean, I do consulting on the side, but it just sort of took on more legs than I expected, or just my relationship with Chris and the brand evolved. And so we ended up kind of moving faster than we expected through fragrance development, and then got accepted into Scent Explorer pre-launch, which is a little unusual. And so the last like 4 months, I've been more focused on just kind of like getting that brand ready. So my own brand, like I'd planned on being in more boutiques now. I'd planned on releasing 2 new scents already. So that's all delayed until like November, December. But for me, like I'm okay with that, because for me, like just having my brand in the world is all that I want, right? And I'm going to, and I want to grow it to be as big as I can. I want it to be an international success if I can, right? But like I'm not in a hurry to get there. And so just any growth for me, people enjoying my scents, like is what makes me happy. So for me, it's going really well.
This brand is called Teddy the Perfumer.
Yeah. Original, I know.
Would you ever be open to having someone else perfume for your brand?
I've thought about that. I think I would. Like I'm not opposed to the idea. I think in reality though, like when I think about it, it seems like a cool idea. But then when I really got down to it, I think if I wanted to start doing collabs, I would probably do a diffusion line, because I think for me, like the brand I purposely named it Teddy the Perfumer so that it was just a representation of me, right? So I could figure out a way to like have a guest perfumer. I might do some collabs and stuff, but I might want to find a way to do like a diffusion line off of it, because again, like I want to keep my core brand as pure as possible to be like my own creative playground, right? And like in the future, like the House of Cosmo thing, like I might get, there's actually another couple brand concepts I have, but Teddy the Perfumer will always be like just me doing my thing for the hell of it.
What's something that's not widely discussed about starting a fragrance brand?
I think for the most part, it's kind of like a rich Playboy Playgirls game. Like not always, but I think you've probably seen like a lot of people are really passionate about scent. They want to start their own brand. And it's very difficult to do it if you don't have a lot of money already. And there's sort of 2 types of people that go into it and tend to be successful. One, it's like very serious business people who get like financial backing, or they've been previously financially successful. And often they're not passionate about fragrance. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're like super passionate about fragrance. And they tend to do really well because they've got the passion, they've got the business knowledge, they've got the finances. There's like the kind of like the Playboy Playgirl route where like they come from generational money, and perfume is a very high margin industry. So it's like if you want to do something cool, perfume is a really great way to do something cool and creative where you have a decent chance of like making pretty good money and also not just like losing a ton of money. Like starting a winery, good luck. Starting a perfume brand, like upfront costs are high, but like if you can move some units, it's high margin, right? So like you're not going to get your butt handed to you too badly. And so I think that's what people don't talk about. It's like a lot of brands at launch, whether they admit it or not, have substantial financial backing. There's nothing wrong with that. And then if you want to do it truly on your own, like truly not take an outside investment, and like obviously you got to put some money in, but not have like $100,000 of your own cash minimum just lying around. You have to get really creative about what's going to make people care about buying your scents. And so I think really the simpler way to put it is like, what people don't talk about a lot is like, you making the scent is not enough. You have to give people reason to care about it. And if you have a lot of money, you can pay for ways to do that. If you don't have a lot of money, you got to get really creative and have a very, or creative, lucky. You just have to really think carefully about like, great, I'm going to spend all this money making sense. What is my angle to make people aware of it and care about it cheaply? And there's many answers to that, but people often don't talk about it, and it'll destroy your brand if you don't think it through.
Now, speaking of starting brands, like you said, you have recently become the creative director of House of Cosmo. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Oh yeah. At this point, like kind of cat's out the bag, because we were waiting to talk more about it until like we were, because the Scent Explorer launch was like tight. We're like, I think we're gonna make it. I think we're good. But basically, the founder Chris, he reached out to me, and he had been developing his own brand, and was in the process of like working with fragrance houses. And he's actually had a story very similar to mine. He's not a perfumer, but like really intense collector for a long time. Has been in the business world for a long time, and like was really passionate about scent. He was like, I really want to do something I'm passionate about, and wanted to put his name and creativity behind something. But it's kind of tough to break into the industry if you're an outsider. And so he was starting to try to like work with fragrance houses, and he actually just reached out to me through TikTok, and we got to talking. He hired me as a consultant to help with like creating fragrance briefs, refining like what fragrances to launch for the brand, like timelines, and then also being what's called an evaluator, because like you have to go through many rounds of revisions and stuff to refine the direction of the scent and all that. And like, so I started providing this sort of like market research evaluator and like fragrance development support role. And then it was a fun concept. Like he was very passionate about it. He had some cool ideas, and the whole concept of the brand was like sort of space and futurism themed. Like, what would it smell like to be engulfed by the aura of the sun? Like, what would it be like to smell the air on a new Earth-like planet for the first time? And not in like an ultra niche way. Like they're like commercial, like in the sense of like they're meant to smell good, right? But how do you take these kind of cool space and futurism concepts and like translate them into a smell? And it was a lot of fun. And I got to work with like DSM Firmenich and Bernice Watteau, who's a wonderful perfumer there, a couple other houses as well, and just got more and more involved. And then we realized like I didn't want the project to end, Chris didn't either, and so he brought me on as the creative director, and here we are.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and tough too. I'm actually I have a video I'm gonna post tomorrow, just kind of talking about like, actually here, like right here, like I have, like here's just like a handful of the trials for like one of the scents. And they're all different, and we're evaluating them. I had them all laid out because I was doing some final checks, and it's just it's like a long process to go through. Like, okay, does this match the brief that we want? Does it smell good the way we want it to? And then there's like 3 different final versions of it. Like, which one do you pick? Why do you pick it? You think you've got the right answer. It's not like there's no right or wrong answer. It's always a judgment call. Yeah, salty. Yeah, it's fun but taxing. Exactly. Like the other night, like Chris and I were talking. It was supposed to be a quick check-in. Like 3 hours later, we were still like spraying stuff and like on the phone. Like what about that? Because there's never an end. I mean, sometimes no, but most scents, like you get 2 and you're like, man, I love both of them for slightly different reasons. Which one do you pick? When you get there, you just got to make the call.
So we're gonna do a quick little run through of some of these recent flashpoints on Frag Talk.
Let's do it.
So you and Cal exchanged some videos. Did you ever hash that out?
Oh yeah. I took that video down. I actually reached out. I apologized to him because like social media is one of those things where like you're on there and you see somebody say something and like I was a little annoyed about something related to like something like a clone brand was doing. I actually don't have a big issue with clone brands. What I have an issue is with like deceptive marketing. Like I'm not that fussed about cloning, honestly. And like I just like in the video, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna respond, right? I replied, and then like people in the comments were kind of like defending him, and I was like replying, but I'm replying quickly. And then somebody pointed out, like, yeah, like the way you were kind of replying in the comments, like made it seem like you were like really mad at him. Like, oh, and I looked back and I went, oh yeah, that at one I was being kind of like short in writing, which never sounds super nice. Like it always sounds more stiff than you mean it to. And then two, I was like, yeah, but like I just realized I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just kind of like reacting to it. I'm gonna take that down. So I reached out. I was like, hey man, I'm sorry. Like I should have actually just messaged him and been like, hey, like you said this, like, is that what you meant? Like, just like talked about it. Because what I'm trying to do in the fragrance community is build bridges. Like I'm trying to really call people in more than call them out. Like there's all this deceptive marketing out there. And it's really hard to kind of figure out what's true or not because the industry is pretty secretive. And so he and I, we're on good terms now. Like where we were messaging back and forth, having voice conversations. And he actually put me onto some information that like I'd kind of heard of before, but he had been talking to a couple of houses, and it seems like there's some evolving tactics in the industry where there are some niche brands that may be signing off on or even possibly getting some benefit directly from allowing cloning. And so he and I are actually trying, he's looking into it a bit, and I'm asking around about it as well, because like if that's kind of happening, I would really love to know about it because that's some juicy stuff. Nothing confirmed yet, but no, I was in the wrong. I took it down. I apologized to him. I reached out, and we're good now.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on Frag Talk being toxic?
Social media is toxic, man. I think like any online space has some level of toxicity. I mean, case in point, like with the Cal video, like I kind of, I mean, what I did wasn't like super extreme, but I kind of like went off a little bit. It's so easy for things to be misinterpreted or like people to overreact or to purposefully overreact. And frankly, now that I'm a content creator, which it still feels weird for me to say, it's really shaped how I see social media. Because like I find myself like having to be like, okay, if I said it this way, I would get more views, but it would be a little. Is that true enough? Like, and like, there's the little devil on your shoulder going like, God, say it, it's okay, and I feel like if I'm doing that, and I try to make engaging content that's a little spicy sometimes, but that's truthful. And I'm like, man, if I'm struggling with that sometimes, like if you have any level of unscrupulousness in you or like lack of awareness, like you can just see how quickly social media spirals into like some pretty wild stuff. So I don't think fragrance TikTok or perfume TikTok is like any more or less toxic than other social media spaces that I've seen.
Well, speaking of toxic, recently you had a certain person review your fragrance, and this person is a kind of a prickly figure in the content sphere and Frag Talk. How does it feel to, how do you navigate something like that when you have someone who's such a flashpoint for something, but they're also helping your business?
My biggest weakness is that that's a pretty broad statement. A weakness I have on social media is I don't consume enough social media content regularly to like keep up with what exactly is going on with some folks, right? And so I know exactly what you're talking about, right? And like I know for a fact that they're a polarizing figure. I've seen some videos talking about why like I don't actually watch, like I try to watch content, but like between my work and my perfumery, my business, being a dad, like and the content creation, like I don't follow it as much as I probably need to. And so one thing I've been worried about is like there are times when like maybe I might be commenting or saying something to somebody or giving them free stuff, and I don't realize that maybe they're somebody whose values I don't align with. I have no idea if that's the case in this one. But personally, like um, they've, at least the way they've interacted with me, it's been interesting because there have been videos they've called me out, and I've called them out. Um, and I feel like we've developed this sort of mutual respect where like they're it's pretty clear to me that over time I've seen them developing their nose, like getting actually quite knowledgeable about fragrances and perfumery. Um, and I disagree with some of their takes sometimes, but like they just bought my perfume. They just bought them and reached and say, "Hey, heads up, I bought them. Bought all three of them. Never asked for them. Reviewed them." Interesting. When reviewing them, I was surprised they picked up on stuff in them that a lot of people don't. And I was like, okay, this actually you're really assessing them. That's impressive. And so my way of navigating it is obviously if I'm really aware of something that doesn't align with my values and like I have proof behind it, I will not associate with people. And if it's somewhere in between, I will just do my best, I guess. like and that's the tough part is sometimes like I it's you second guess and it's hard to know how to navigate those things because like I'm frankly not plugged in as much as I probably need to be.
So the advent of AI is here. Do you think there's an ethical way to use AI as a fragrance content creator, a perfumer, creative director, etc., etc.?
Probably. I think it's like we're still trying to figure out exactly what the moral bounds of perfume of AI are because especially with generative AI, like it's essentially just a massive plagiarism machine, right? But one thing I use it for, which is really helpful, is you can make custom GPTs that reference back to your own notes, right? So I can use it to extract information from like because I have a lot of notes and they're all like in digital form. It can help. Yeah, I can like ask it because I've created a custom GPT where it links into like my notes and I can be like, hey, like you know, what can you find about this thing? And just saves me time. I use it to reference things like I've done a custom GPT for like IFRA standards, right? Where like I'm not making final selling decisions based on it, but like I can use it to quickly reference the IFRA standards library to determine like what safe levels I can use for certain things, whether like what ingredients do this, that, and the other based on my notes. Like, are there ones that could be used at a lower, safer limit? So I use it for a lot of like reference work. I've tried it. I've asked it to make me some fragrance accords, and it doesn't do very well. And there's a very simple reason for that, which I can explain. But I think for me, it feels like ethical to use it as a way of like finding public, like synthesizing public knowledge or having your own knowledge like put to use more effectively. I'm not a big fan of using it for artwork and stuff like that. I honestly don't know where I stand with that. um, yet. I'm still figuring that out. But frankly, when I see brands using AI art, or like it's noticeable they've used AI art, I don't like boycott them out of principle, but it just never feels very. It feels too uncanny valley still. It kind of it feels like it cheapens the experience for me. So the short answer is I'm figuring it out. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, let's get to some fun questions. Well, I feel like you've already answered this one, but who are your favorite creators?
um, like perfumers or like content creators.
Content creators in general, or like perfumers.
I think I'm a really big fan of Remi. Remi's super cool. Love all of his content. And then the problem is I'm trying to remember the screen names, and the names are always hard for me to remember. Remi is one that I interact with a lot. There's a couple of like Allison. What's her name? Allison. I forget her last name. She does like she's a beauty packaging consultant. I've learned a ton from her. I'll try to find her handle, but she does a lot of posting on Instagram, and I've talked with her a little bit offline. Then there is a barefaced. I forget what her name is actually, like the creator, but she's like a hardcore like beauty analytics nerd. I don't know if nerd is the right word, but she does like really incredible analyses of like cosmetics industry and trends. I think she goes by barefaced on both Instagram and TikTok. And then there's a handful of creators that I have just like really fun taste, like Big Smelly. She was one I followed for a long time. For some reason, her something about her taste in fragrances, like she seems to find scents that I've never tried, but her taste a lot overlaps with mine a lot. So often when her videos or slideshows pop up, I often find a couple where I'm like, ooh, that sounds like something I like, and I like, and I haven't tried it yet. So there's a handful of people like that. Um, I'm sure I can make a more comprehensive list if I had time.
Now, you've already said that you don't scroll through social media. You don't get a chance to really scroll through it. But when you do scroll through it, what shows up on your FYP?
Fragrance. Actually, now I recently got back into skateboarding after like 20 years because I used to skate a lot, and like now my kids want to learn, and now I'm getting like perfume and then skateboarding clips. Oh, and actually, pause. There's quite a few like political commentators. Like there's that man. I'm so bad at like for some reason I'm really bad at like remembering people's names, like screen names on social media because I'm not like looking at their screen name. I know who they are. I could find them. But there's an economist. She does a lot of commentary on like macro and microeconomics and like economic policy, how it's impacting America right now. There's that guy who's like a retired oil executive who just like gives really crazy good insights into like oil and gas politics and stuff like that. But it's basically perfume, politics, and pro skateboarding. At least right now. Right now.
And then the last question for you is, what do you think makes a good content creator?
I think it's two parts. I mean, one, it's having a perspective. Like, well, actually, that's not true. I mean, when you say good, because people can make really good content that doesn't grow, right? Like it's great content, but it doesn't feed the algorithm. So do you mean like one, like is a good content creator somebody who's like able to grow their account, or somebody who just like has engaging content?
Um, I guess someone who would want to reach your level, basically.
Okay, yeah, and it's crazy. Like, I feel like when I'm at like I'm at 65,000 followers, or something. I feel like that's starting to get to the point where I'm like no longer a small size creator, like starting to get like some decent size behind it. And so if you want to grow, like the things that really helped me grow was just following, having a perspective and following best practices. Like when I implemented the triple stack hook in most of my content, like my reach like quadrupled overnight. And it's this idea that you want a visual hook, you want a text hook, a verbal hook, and a visual hook in the beginning of your videos, in the first 3 seconds. I don't do that for all of them, but if you'll notice, almost all my videos have at least a text hook and a verbal hook, and they're usually slightly different. And even better, it's like the reason why a lot of people, content creators, like make a video where they're putting their phone down frantically to tell you about something. It's a visual hook. That's their 10th take. They've set that phone down 10 times. Like, the ones where like the reason why people will do videos like while they're walking, because it's visual stimulation. It's a visual hook, right? And if you have a perspective, especially if you're a little controversial, and you implement like best practices with terms of like hooks in the first 3 seconds, and then like good storytelling and good rehooking, like your content will get way more traction really quickly. It feels campy at first, but it works. It's, and it becomes more natural as you get better at it. Oh, another one. Cold Frame Perfumery. Big fan of her content too. Totally random.
I don't know.
She's a perfumery student in France right now. So definitely recommend checking her out. I was like, I'm forgetting some key people in there.
Well, those are all my questions for you. If you want to hang around and answer the people in the comments,
Let's fire away. Yeah.